Almost 90% of women have cellulite. And guess what? It's not their fault. We don't choose cellulite, but we can choose a different way to treat it. Meet Quo, collagenase Clostridium histolyticum, AAES, the first and only FDA-approved prescription injectable for moderate to severe cellulite in the buttocks of adult women. This non-surgical treatment is injected by an aesthetic specialist in 10 minutes or less. Individual results may vary. Do not receive if you are allergic to any collagenase or ingredients in Quo or have an infection at the treatment site. May cause serious side effects, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and injection site bruising. Seek medical help right away for any signs of allergic hypersensitivity. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions if you have a bleeding condition or take medicine that prevents clotting. Most common side effects include bruising, pain, hardness, itching, redness, discoloration, swelling, and warmth at the injection site. Ask your doctor about all possible side effects and for product information. If you're ready to get to the bottom of your cellulite, learn more and find a specialist at Quo.com.
You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk. Movie musings for mostly everybody.
Remember, true believers, with great power comes great responsibility.
Welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your hunk.
Ooh la la.
I'm your French hunk. I'm your
I'm your honk.
honk. That's me.
Hey, can I have a turn?
Nope.
Yeah. I'm Doge, and I've noticed his stuff makes you look a little bloated. Just, a little chunky.
Nice.
It was already there.
Nice.
It was already there.
It was already there. Oh, it was already there. I'm Carter, and your blood pressure, Mr. Jameson. Your chunk told me to tell you to watch The Anger. You tell my chunk. Thank you.
Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do next week when there's not a JJJ to do?
I'm gonna do like
just say some AMA lines as JJJ.
Probably it'll happen.
Perfect.
Can't wait for No Way Home. He'll be back.
Finally, you have an opportunity once more.
Okay, we'll go into that. I was jumping every time in that scene that he jumped.
Yeah.
It terrified me.
Yeah, it's loud. It's a loud scene.
Hey, why? Why are you?
Oh, yeah. Why are you honking up, man? Ooh la la.
On Saturday, we had a meeting of the minds, a real brain trust type situation. The pod boys, the pod daddies, a lot of people are saying recently.
Absolutely nobody's saying that. Nobody ever will say that.
We decided not to say that.
The pod daddies gathered together.
Nope, they didn't.
On Saturday morn to brainstorm, to come up with what's the next year look like? What's our situation look like? Who are we?
In the year of our Lord 2022.
Who are we is the real question. And I'm the hunk because I contributed the most and the smartest information. No, actually, it's because we used my house to meet.
Not just your house.
Your lovely house.
My lovely house.
It was your dry erase board.
We used my dry erase board.
That was, honestly, I've never felt so official.
I'm a real dry erase board boy.
That was such an LLC move there, Jordan.
It really was. It really was, yeah. I tried to be out a wall and replace it all with glass so we could just write on that. But it turns out when you rent a house, they really frown.
They don't want that.
On knocking out walls.
You hadn't put together yet, yeah.
Those who live in rent houses shouldn't erect glass walls,
Shouldn't throw glass onto walls.
That's the saying.
That's what a lot of people are saying. But yeah, so, we planned. We know what's up. And so if somebody asks us, like, what's next for Two Chunks? I'll be like, I do know that.
We do know.
But you can't know.
You can't.
Because it's a secret. Shh. Well, it's not a secret what we're talking about today because it's the third.
I almost did that transition for you. I was like, come on, dude. What's not a secret, though?
I'll tell you what isn't a secret. It's not a secret what we're talking about today. The third movie, the final Raimi movie, the third movie in our Spider-Man series. It's called Spider-Man 3. And as per the legally binding document I signed decades ago, I cannot talk about this movie until I get a synopsis from Duzois. So, Duz,
I'm so excited for this synopsis.
please give
Good
me
luck.
a synopsis.
This week, IMDb super user Sumitra is bringing us home. That's 3 Raimi
Coffee, 3 cups of
synopses for
coffee.
3 Raimi movies from our
I'm gonna
dear,
get the
dear
jitters.
Sumitra. Sumitra, once again, the quill of the god touches the parchment of our brain and writes, Peter Parker is finally happy. He is doing well at the school. His girlfriend MJ Watson loves him, and the whole city loves his crime-fighting alter ego Spider-Man, finally bestowing upon him the praise he so rightly deserves. Apart from this, he has made some new foes and rivals. His former friend-turned-foe Harry Osborn has become the new Goblin and wants to avenge his father by killing Spider-Man. On one night, an alien symbiote from outer space crash lands in Peter's vicinity and attaches itself to his spider suit, turning it black in color and enhancing its powers. Flint Marko, a fugitive, is turned into the Sandman when he gets subjected to a molecular lab experiment. Incidentally, Marko is the person who is revealed to have killed
Wow,
Peter's Uncle Ben,
dude,
and
we
now
gotta
Peter
stop
wants
doing this,
revenge.
guys.
Peter's job as a freelance photographer with the
No.
Daily Bugle is taken by Eddie Brock. Peter also learns that apart from enhancing his powers, the black symbiote has also brought out the dark side within him, which causes him to ruthlessly manages to throw Eddie out of his job. When MJ breaks up with him, he starts dating his fellow student Gwen Stacy, who was Eddie's ex, to make them both jealous. Soon, Peter must decide whether he should let his dark side to dominate his personality or not.
Always stopping well before the end. Thank goodness. It's a bittersweet thing. There was such a head of steam.
This is not a joke. At one point, I don't know if I disassociated or what happened, but I was like thinking about completely different things and then was like, oh, wait, oh my God, we're still in the synopsis.
Still going.
Are you kidding
Still
me?
going. Still going. Here is the thing about this movie, though. Our beautiful, beautiful Sumitra gave no more than 1 sentence per plot idea for this movie.
Well, yeah,
That
that's
is true. That is
That's
very
true.
true.
The Harry Osborn stuff is literally a sentence in there. The Gwen Stacy appears once in that synopsis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not inaccurate. I'll say that. It's
No,
not inaccurate. And that's kind of it's impossible to have a conversation about Spider-Man 3 without talking about what's going on with Spider-Man 3 in kind of the real world at this point. Like,
Yeah.
This is a movie absolutely beset with real world problems. Mostly, in my opinion, in the writer's room, but, to each their own.
Guys, I have to super dump right now.
Can
I do it?
When you got to go,
Can I
you
do
gotta
it?
go.
Doge is always apologetic that
Holding
he's
those
super
in isn't
dumping.
good for your health. That's what my doctor tells me.
I love the energy of just like, I'm so sorry. I know it's one of the 2 most important things on this podcast, but I'm going to do it.
I just try to keep it so positive all the time.
That's
that
you.
I hate
That's
to
you,
bring it
man.
down. I hate to be a black cloud on this beautiful sunny podcast.
Yeah, hit me, dog.
My super dump is the structure of this movie. There are
Sure,
2 movies happening at the same time.
I would argue there are 3 movies happening at the same time.
Sam Raimi wanted to close out this trilogy with a personal story focusing on Peter, MJ, and Harry with antagonists of Flint Marko, the Sandman. That's the story that I like and I think works pretty well and is comprised of elements that work together. Avi Arad, who we haven't talked about on the show before. Avi is the co-founder of Marvel Studios. He produced Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. But before that, he was the CEO of Marvel Entertainment. And so he was a producer on pretty much every non-MCU movie that you can think of, all the way through recently through things like Spider-Verse. But think about the X-Men movies. Think about the Ben Affleck Daredevils. Think about Fantastic Fours. Think about your Ghost Riders. That's the movies that he's producing. He's also producing things like Venom and Morbius currently. But the kind of the legend has it that he was telling Sam Raimi, hey, you're focusing too much on the characters that you love, on the villains that are interesting to you. So you really need to pull one in that the fans really like. So you have to do Venom. You have to do Venom, and we're not going to let you do it unless you do Venom.
Wow.
And the fact that Sam is able to kind of retrofit the Venom stuff into this movie, like I feel like the kind of theme he's wanting to go with is you're more than your choices, right? Which is kind of similar to Spider-Man 2. But the fact that he's able to fit the Venom stuff in and kind of retrofit that and make it sort of make sense, I think is a huge testament to his creativity. It's just,
For sure.
man, that symbiote stuff is just so obviously out, like from outside this other story that's happening to me.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Let's zoom out one level further for just a moment.
Yes.
And talk No Way Home for just a second. In light of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, I think that what we learned from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 is something we've talked about, maybe not on the podcast, but definitely in person we've talked about, the curse of too many villains.
Where Spider-Man movies go to die.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to talk about valid concerns over No Way Home, I mean, it's the MCU, right? It's different. But if you want to talk about valid concerns that people have brought up about No Way Home, I would say too many villains is a real possibility here.
I'm actually pretty nervous about that. Because we have to have, like, the reason that, to me, Spider-Man 2 is like night and day difference from this. Spider-Man 2 is pretty widely respected and felt like, this sounds awful. I could imagine a grown-up watching Spider-Man 2. I couldn't imagine somebody older than I was at the time going to the theater and enjoying Spider-Man 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in 7th grade. It was 2007. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen because Venom was in it.
Right.
But like, I can't imagine like how my parents felt when I bought the DVD and brought it home. I was like, you got to see the new Spider-Man. Like, what did they think coming off the heels of Spider-Man 2, you know?
Yep.
But we have a really strong
too?
conflict lock between Peter and Otto in Spider-Man 2, and we have virtually no conflict lock between anybody here.
Yeah. Who is your, who did you just bring into the story? What's the name of the person that was behind the scenes?
That's
that
Avi
was over
Arad.
the Marvel.
Yeah.
So Avi what?
Arad?
Avi Arad.
A-R-A-D, yeah.
So I think Avi gets to still kind of look over their glasses at the end, though, and be like, see, told you. Because despite all of the mess, it made $900 million
yes.
in 2007. See, told you they wanted Venom. You know, and so it's like, that's kind of the bummer of it to me. And looking at everything that's going on in the world then, and then that's the scary thing, like we're talking about now, of having so many. It's just like, oh my God. Like this is, and does it help at all, guys, that we had, you know, that it feels like all of the villains that we have in this one, just about all of them, unless I'm missing somebody because there are so many, are at least someone that we've had some time on screen with before?
In No Way Home?
In No Way Home, yeah. So is there like,
I'm with you.
is there like does that feel a little better? And all we have to do is kind of course correct and lean into who it seems like our director for No Way Home understands was the best one. Because,
So
I mean, we said before that Otto is like it, right?
Oh,
So
for sure.
he's,
Yeah.
he's the crux here.
It feels to me like in the words of the good doctor himself, brilliant but lazy. I think it could work well, but I think it's the same concerns we had when we talked about WandaVision, when we thought that Ralph Bohner was actually Pietro from the Fox X-Men universe, because if he's actually Quicksilver, then like by corollary, that means that X-Men 2 or X3 The Last Stand is now canon to the MCU, and that movie's bad.
Right. But
So it's
also by the nature of multiverses, it is. Even if we never acknowledge it, it is.
Sure, but if we directly bring it in, then in some way these lesser movies become required viewing to understand the last one, you know?
There's a couple things that make me less worried about No Way Home.
Yeah,
and all these
talk to me.
villains. One of them is I just can't fight anymore the momentum of the MCU, of Marvel Studios. There's been so many times I've been scared and they've really proven me wrong. And then also I would say this feels like while it does feel heavy fan service in a big way, and that's something that MCU is unique in that sometimes fan service means, wow, what a waste of time, but at least the fans love it. But the MCU has kind of flipped that sometimes because there's things that have been done that are fan service that feel organically very welcome in the narrative of a lot of these MCU movies. So I think this just feels like hey, let's just put the last nail in the coffin of the old Spider-Mans. Let's bring them all back in one fatal swoop and just say, you remember that? They're all here. And the best parts of it, we get to keep. And the ones that we didn't like, we get to change and they never come back again. There's part of me that's like, here's the Viking funeral for Sony's old Spider-Man. Like MCU has the dagger behind their back for the day that they just finally end all this stuff with Sony.
Yeah.
And it is poisoned with No Way Home. And they're just like, no. Yeah, I think this is a great idea. And then it's like, yep, we're done. We have nothing else that we need from you anymore.
It feels like a flex more than anything. It feels like the MCU is looking to be able to go, you guys remember when we took your doo-doo Electro and made him awesome?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when everybody liked the version that we did? Do you guys remember that? That's crazy, right? Like, it's crazy that when we did it, it was dope.
Yeah. And that's the trouble too. And I think I understand, Doge. I empathize with you because having so many villains is a lot different than getting to, Endgame, really. It was Thanos and he had his lackeys and stuff. And we had a lot of stuff going on. But the MCU was in full control of that. Marvel Studios, the new iteration, was in full control of it. Now we're picking up something from the used aisle.
Exactly.
And trying to repurpose it, which is scary.
Yeah, that's the thing that's worrying to me. And I would have the same worry if Hugh Jackman stepped out of a portal, or if Jessica Alba's Invisible Woman stepped out of a portal. Be like, oh Lord. Man, now I have to watch those again, and I don't like those as much as I like these.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
I mean, here's how creative the MCU is, though. I mean, they turned the Human Torch into Captain America, and nobody even remembers.
And then also turned the Human Torch into Killmonger. So it's just a Human Torch rehabilitation program.
We're just going, yes.
Bring me your poor, your tiled. Tiled?
You tiled. You tiled.
Bring me your poor, your tiled.
We're working
your
in
100
ceramics.
viruses of Human Torches, I think, is what probably the front of the headquarters for the MCU says.
Yeah, probably.
Yes,
Did you boys see this when it came out?
I did. Of course I did.
How did you feel about it at the time?
I loved it with every fiber of my being.
I was so bummed, man. I was in college. Or this was like either that or a send-off before I went out to college.
Yeah, May 2007.
Yeah, so this was graduating from high school, getting ready for college. And it's like Vitamin C is playing in my, as we go.
Yeah.
And I'm holding the hands of all these franchises that are ending. And I'm just like, okay, let's all do this together. Let's end on a high note. And then Spider-Man 3 happened. And I was like, listen, I really did enjoy all of the falling from several story fights we had. There were a lot of them. Maybe too many. Also,
maybe too many.
Also, what is going on? So I was like, whatever, you got my money. I had my popcorn and bunch of crunch. But I was pretty bummed, honestly.
Yeah.
I was 13.
Same.
So I was just like, more Spider-Man. Dude.
I was deep in it. This came out on a Friday. I remember my mom picking me up from 7th grade, driving me directly to the movie theater to see it. Did you just say
this came out on a Friday as though you remember what day of the week this movie came out?
No, I'm saying it came out on a Friday, and that's important because the Monday of that week, I remember that it was the week of I was like counting down to this. I was like, it is Spider-Man week. I can't wait. Spider-Man 2 is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's Spider-Man week.
Yeah.
We were in Walmart and we saw the like official novelization of Spider-Man 3. And I was like, Mom, I don't know how to explain this to you, but I have to have that.
I'm going to die if I don't get that book.
It is so important to me. She's like, a book? You're a kid and you want a book? Sure. Why not? Yeah, totally. I'll buy it for you. So I bought it, devoured, read the entire thing, finished it up last period of 7th grade on that Friday, finished it up in that last class, and then immediately went to go see the movie.
Wow.
I was 100% in. I was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. I was like, I was all in, completely all in on this movie when it came out.
That's so interesting. There's a wonderful thing that happens that's this fun little aftershock in the box office. Is the movies that tend to make the most money in franchises are the ones after what are critically the most acclaimed. So Return of the King, after Two Towers, which is my favorite. And I don't think am I the only one that Two Towers of those three was my favorite?
No, Two Towers is my favorite too.
Okay, gotcha. And so then
Return
we have
of the King boy.
Yeah, that one's a lot better and less egregious than anyone liking Spider-Man 3 more than 2. But it's making 200 more million because everyone is expecting. I mean, when you look at the players, like if we were doing a podcast at the time, imagine how excited we would be. The people doing the research and saying, I mean, what could go wrong? Same guy, like same director, same Spider-Man, same all this stuff.
They're adding Venom. They're adding Gwen Stacy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
nothing.
No brains.
No brains. No, Look, I think it's clear of the many issues, the writing has to be one of the most egregious.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the interview that Raimi gave where he talks about he was at the studio's request forced to shove 10 pounds of movie into a 5-pound bag?
No.
Oh, that's so funny. That's what I know. For.
It's brutal.
Yeah. He's been pretty candid in interviews and stuff about like, listen, I know it's bad. I don't think this one's very good. I had something I wanted to do and they had something they wanted to do and we both tried to do our thing and neither of them ended up good.
Yeah. Look, I know there are many times that directors use studio interference to justify a bad movie and how it's not their fault. Obviously, I know this. David Ayer.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder.
Release the Raimi cut is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know? Raimi's vision was
Peter
just
Jackson.
too edgy.
But at least Raimi had 2 good ones in his pocket before the third one, you know? But I think in order for me to have a cathartic experience, sort of exorcising my Spider-Man 3 related demons, I have to talk about the script of this movie, both dialogue related and just general story beats related. It's painful to me.
Cathart on him, dude.
I'd love to cathart all over this if that would be okay.
I love the energy. Before we do that, can I say one thing?
Please.
Something else that was happening around this time was everyone in the movie business and everyone consuming movies was enamored by CGI that was starting to be incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of movies got really busy. A lot of movies were great for 13-year-olds that read the book right before, right?
Yep.
Because that was the point. I remember the first time I saw Michael Bay's Transformers.
Right.
I thought, okay, oh my God.
This is
Oh
the
my
best
God.
thing. Yeah.
I was like, and I happened to be like last minute fourth row boy, but it didn't matter because Optimus just cradled me into like hysteria. So it was just like all that happens too. And I was thinking of Peter Jackson kind of being pushed by Warner Brothers and how weird CGI that was and so against what he wanted to do. But so much is happening. That's why I just want to throw that in there before we get into
This is around the same time we're getting like Davy Jones and stuff like that, where it's like CG like is the selling point. That's
Everyone's
a good point.
flexing. Everyone's like, but who's got the best CG team, right?
Yeah.
It's wild.
The CG looks pretty good for the most part.
I think the visual
in this
effects are
movie.
pretty
bad
great.
at all.
Yeah.
No. It's great.
Yeah,
The
I think
look of the symbiote, the presence of the symbiote, I take great umbrage with, but the look of the symbiote is really good.
Yeah, let's break it down a little bit. Let's drop a beat. Let's break
Carter,
it down.
drop a beat for him.
You clipped completely out of my
Yeah, I have no idea what
auditory
happened.
range when that happened. But I bet it was sick. I bet it was
Zoom.
really
That's
tight.
when it's not made for this world.
Zoom was like, is this guy playing music? That's copyrighted.
Turn
We
it
gotta deck
down.
that.
Turn it down. That was too close to all the other good tracks. The fact that the symbiote is here in this movie is a bummer. The fact that the symbiote came to Earth in the way that it did when we were introduced to JJ's son in the last movie.
Yeah, it was supposed to come with young Jameson. Was it not?
He's here. He exists.
There were drafts of this movie where it came with Jameson, like landed on his rocket. There were drafts of this movie that also, I think the novelization actually did not have it coming from a meteor. So the novelization I read was definitely based on an earlier draft because the differences are at the end, Peter like does all the sonic weapon against Venom. And it's just Eddie's smoking skeleton inside. Eddie is completely gone.
Jeez.
The symbiote's just manipulating his body, which is interesting if nothing like the comics. But the other draft for the presence of the symbiote in this movie is actually based on Ultimate Comics, where Peter's father and Eddie's father were scientists working together on a cure for cancer. And it was these basically synthetic white blood cells that would attach to the body and attack impurities. And it was this suit. It was this symbiotic organism that they developed and created. That iteration of the origin of Venom feels a lot more in line with the tone of the other Spider-Mans from Sam Raimi to me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I agree. If you're going to have it come from space, let's have it with the space boy from the last one.
The guy that we got introduced to.
I know.
I mean, come on. It's right there. It's a way to have any connective tissue from this movie to another movie.
Yep. But it was a meteor, which was issue for me. I have such a big, and I have to turn off. I have to be ready for like the fantastical, right? I've got to turn certain things off in superhero movies. I've got to turn certain things off in fantasy, sci-fi, anything like that. Can we stop risking things by just having like chilling on a web?
Yeah.
With your girlfriend without your mask on?
Dude, for real.
In the park? Are you serious? I'm so tired. That looks cool. That is neat. I would love to flex with my girlfriend if I had organic webbing and make us a wonderful hammock.
I kind of feel like Jess would be like, "Hey, dude, I'm not touching that stuff." That's pretty. I just watched that come out of you. That's gross.
It's pretty nasty.
When he's when Peter is up above the key to the city ceremony without his mask on, he's like, "I'm like, what are you doing?" Yeah, Callie goes, "Put your mask on."
I did that too. And Gwen evidently knows exactly where he is.
Right.
Because she was told, "Hey, here's where he'll be."
He responded. He accepted the iCal invite.
It's like Tobey Maguire is probably the only person in the world that if you were far enough away, you couldn't see his mouth at all. And so it's very clearly like Peter. That's Peter Parker. There's only
it's just eyes and a nose on that
15 feet
face.
away. It's just eyes and a nose.
That's all it is eyes and a nose on that face. That's definitely Peter Parker, 100%. Okay, so my super dump lives here, and
here he goes. Here he goes, guys.
Oh, here it goes.
I hate that Flint Marko is the one that shot and killed Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
That's so lazy.
So I don't love that at all. Do you think that's a direct...
We didn't need it to be.
I mean, that's a direct...
No, it's not necessary at all, dude.
No. But Joe Chill killed Batman's parents.
Yeah.
And became the Joker in 1989.
That's exactly what it felt like.
Is that what it is? Like, does it have to be that now?
Yeah. I was waiting for the pearl necklace to be broken and fall on the ground.
It just sucks.
Man, yeah, that's dumb.
Sandman can be interesting on his own. Tell me the story of a good man forced to make bad decisions because of the failing of a healthcare system that couldn't pay for his daughter to be well, and he resorted to crimes that he is not proud of or particularly maybe even good at, got caught, escaped to get back to his daughter, and got turned accidentally into the Sandman. That's a story.
Which is an entire invention of Raimi, by the way.
But I'm down with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic.
I like that a lot. I love that aspect. I hate that he is actually the one that killed. I don't know, man. It's all so like serendipitous to the point of stupidity to me.
Absolutely. This whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a... You know, and we can get into the character pain that brings me in a little bit, but just from a writing perspective, that is a bunk decision. I think it is.
Yes.
I think it is. Maybe I don't think it's the biggest misstep of this movie. I think it is the biggest symptom, the most obvious symptom, indicative of the problem with this movie.
Yeah,
and it is the most offensive runoff of that to me. In the whole movie.
We didn't need another like narrative line of like Peter not wanting to kill people. That's already been there.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if he doesn't want to kill somebody that's hurting somebody, why not make it Harry? if we are absolutely insisting on New Goblin being a part of this movie, which is also a dump from me as well.
Yeah. No way, dude. His snowboard is so rad.
I was like, man, you're going to fight, like, it's like a triple boss fight, and you probably took the thing you got on the first level. Like, when we looked at his, like, dad's and his, like, updated, he had all this cool stuff.
What a glow down.
And then he's just got the snowboard.
He goes from that emerald green.
I thought that board was so sick, though.
No, I did too. The like half mask thing. Yeah. I was like, that is the coolest thing I can imagine.
And now we all walk around with that New Goblin mask on all the time.
We do. We do.
Were you about to say something about him showing up to that fight, or were you just saying that it's dumb that he shows up with his old gear?
He just shows up with his old gear. He shows up with the thing that doesn't feel like it's going to do the most damage.
Yeah.
How did you like his Batman fins on his arm?
I don't mind. It's whatever.
Those were kind of cool.
Yeah.
Those were kind of cool. That they were hiding under his sweater.
So that's not without comic precedent. that Harry becomes the Goblin.
No, that doesn't bother me.
I actually quite like that storyline. Just the visual design of the new Goblin is the worst thing
It's so
I've ever
lazy,
seen.
dude.
It is terrible.
He looks like a Power Rangers villain.
Well, I mean, first Goblin definitely looks like a Power Rangers villain as well, but this one looks even more Power Ranger-ier.
We didn't need to like trends of the day it up. Like we didn't need to be like
This
reach
feels
the people.
This feels so much more like 2007 than last week did like 2004.
I mean,
to me.
freaking
Good point.
Venom had frosted tips, so it's like
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh man, that's true. I mean, that's true. Venom looks tight. We'll talk a little bit about my overall feelings about Topher Grace soon. Not right now, but very soon we'll talk about my Topher Grace. I'm a Topher Grace apologist, not for this movie necessarily, but just in general. I really like the guy. So we'll get there. I do want to say, I think Venom's design looks great. Maybe a little too inorganic for me, actually. Like he looks a little too armored. Other than his
Do you like
face.
the voice? Do you like Eric Foreman's voice coming out of this monster's mouth?
don't.
No, I don't.
Because I don't at all.
I don't. I have not yet seen the Tom Hardy Venom, but from what I understand,
this has got me wanting to watch those.
Same,
guys.
100%.
Yeah, same.
From what I understand, the symbiote has its own voice
Good. It should sound scary.
in Venom. Like it talks on its own, separate from our friend.
Yeah, this sounds like
Edward.
someone with an Instagram filter around the Halloween season. Just trying to be cute.
But yeah, I'd like to talk about our Eddie Brock, Peter Parker relationship and all that sort of goes on at the Daily Bugle, honestly, just from a storytelling perspective. But before we do that, we are going to have to go ahead to shout announcements. You're listening to Shout Announcements. It's the Shout Announcements part of the show where we do shout announcements. Shout out to me for this voice that I got stuck in for a minute.
Yeah, dude.
Can't
love
get
it.
out.
Love it.
Guys, I guess I can relate a little bit to Peter Parker in this movie
Is that how handsome you are?
because of how handsome I am.
Because you make your hair all emo whenever you're feeling
and
grumpy.
because sometimes I choose to talk like this and just only move my bottom lip as if I am an animatronic at Chuck E. Cheese.
He's from
But-
Disney's Hall of Spider-Man.
He's from Hall of Spider-Man, but he has this moment where he's trying to fight like the what happens to the symbiote? It kind of accentuates the
Aggression.
bad parts of you,
Yeah.
the aggression of you.
I think it accentuates, particularly aggression, the strongest present aspects of you.
Well, I think for me, there was a time when we were asking for rate and reviews years ago. It's weird to say years ago and be literal, that I wasn't so nice.
That's true.
And to be honest, it's kind of creeping back.
Is he
And
back
I'm
again?
Oh, no.
I'm just kind of ticked off. If you haven't rated or reviewed our podcast, why are you listening? Please
Whoa.
turn off the podcast
Carter,
and stop
no.
wasting our airspace
Carter,
with
no.
people that actually care about us.
Carter,
I'm tired of it.
Sounds like-
I'm tired of
looking
it.
real peeved from my angle.
Every morning is just a fake Christmas morning to me. It's like I can't wait because we've got thousands of downloads and tens of thousands of friends, and we've got all these things that are going down. Can't wait to see more reviews there so that we can be famous. Can't be famous when people are lazy. That's just straight up.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Can't
but
be
lazy.
famous. Can't be. I'm talking to you, Matt, driving your Honda Civic. I know who you are.
no.
I pass by you every day. I hear you on your
Not Matt.
the
Dude, I
podcast
want
listening
that to be
that you do on that
accidentally real
streaming.
so bad.
Matt, go rate and review for Pete's sake.
Matt, slam the e-brake and rate and review this ding dang podcast. Hey, I'm
That's all
gonna
I've got
be
for today.
nicer with mine, which is simply this.
You too, Cliff. Your Ford Taurus. I know you recognized it in Spider-Man 3, the green one.
Dude, Cliff
That was behind the-
totally drives a Ford Taurus.
Behind the sand truck and the money truck. I can't remember the two trucks. There's two trucks in there, and you were behind one of them. You don't even rate and review. Lazy punk.
Dang.
Wow.
I'm still going to be nicer on mine. The bar is set so low, it would be very difficult to be meaner. But I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to take the high road, the road less traveled, some might say. Here's the deal. We want to grow because we love making this podcast. We love interacting with, talking with, and sharing movie love with all of you. And we want to do that with more people. And the best way the most effective way for us to grow is you. So here I am, just a boy, standing in front of really any number of people. And I'm asking
all over
this.
the world.
Send our show to some people. Send it in a text. Send it in an email.
If you like
FaceTime
it,
them
they're
and tell
going to
them
like
about
it.
If you're taking a 45-minute trip from one town to the other with a friend in your seat, you got them hostage. Hit play, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show them what's
If you
up.
love our show, let them know. You know, that's what we've been saying.
That's what we've been saying.
That's what they're
If you're-
chanting.
If you
chanting
got
outside
friends
my
that
home
are
right
planning
now.
to go see No Way Home, throw all this their way.
Yeah. This is a fun time. And
And
here's
if
the
you're like,
deal.
I don't
want
want
to
to
rewatch
going to see No Way Home. Everybody's
Yeah.
saying No Way Home.
Well, and everybody's rewatching these beforehand anyway,
That's
right?
true.
We were all gonna do that anyway.
I mean, I've been streaming these on YouTube TV because TNT is watching them. It's been free for me, just lots of commercials.
Oh, I own the Blu-rays, the collector's edition.
Well,
Blu-rays
we-
then, so.
we-
Yeah. I'm gonna
We know.
for
We
mine.
know.
I'm gonna be medium. I'm gonna be some mean and
Okay.
some nice. I'm gonna
He's
try and
just
thread
right.
that.
He's the
thread that middle needle.
Goldilocks of.
Listen
shout-outs.
up, butt wipes. We love you and we're really proud of you.
Nice.
We're so happy with the people you're becoming as you grow up. And eat your stupid lasagna, you sloppy hogs, because a beautiful cat named Garfield is about to grace your screens next week, slipping into some reds and some blues. We're going to talk about the very first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man next week.
Wow, great job, man.
And
You took
you're
me for a ride.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you don't listen. And we hope your ears fall off because you're not using them to listen to our podcast. But we also love you and hope they grow back because
Is
there's
this
lots
what
of
gaslighting
beautiful. There's lots of beautiful sounds that we want you to be able to hear, like a baby's cry and a baby's first breath. And they're not all baby sounds, but those are probably some of the good ones.
I've always been confused about what gaslighting is because every time I ask anybody about it, they tell me that that's not a real thing and that I should go back to sleep because I'm sleepwalking.
Hey, don't
and
worry.
it's
Don't worry
confusing.
your dumb little head about that, bud.
Oh, this is gaslighting.
Some coffee's fast, but not fresh. Some coffee's fresh, but only after a long wait. Speedway coffee is made fresh at the push of a button, hot or iced, so you can have fresh coffee your way, right away. Find a store near you at speedway.com/locations.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Okay, so I think we haven't given Elizabeth Banks enough credit for throughout these three movies because she's really awesome.
Hey guys, she's in these movies. I don't think we've actually even said she's in
I
these
know.
movies. Elizabeth
but
Banks is in these movies.
All three of them.
She's all three of them, and she's at the Bugle. We get some interesting dynamic here. I love photography competition for Peter. I think that's very interesting because we have leaned so hard into he's the only guy that can get pictures of Spider-Man here in these movies. I love a dude being like, well, I'm going to try and just get better pictures of Spider-Man. Love the fake out of the edited picture. I think that's really great. I think that's a lot of fun. There is so much going on with the Bugle in these three movies. And it feels like it all comes to a really interesting place here. And I wish that we had spent more time on like Bugle time versus maybe some of these other yoo-hoos that are up on the screen.
These are the things that don't have me as worried about No Way Home.
Right.
The very first thing we brought back essentially was the Bugle.
Yep,
Like of
100%,
having JJ back.
Mhm.
And so they've the first two things that we see are Otto and Jameson. And
Yeah.
those seem to be most people's collective good feelings about the original trilogy.
That's true.
Yeah, it seems like there's a really strong understanding of what makes the Raimi trilogy work going into No Way Home. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I really hope so.
As per usual, I think I'm a little more confident
Yeah.
about it than you are.
Totally. I'm the coldest one of all of us. It's my icy heart.
No, it's going to grow 3 sizes that day. That I promise you. That I promise you. But if it's okay, can we talk very briefly about something I love that I think is dumb, but that I love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the podcast.
I'm like weirdly self-conscious about the fact that I love this scene.
Uh-oh. He's at the jazz club.
No, I hate that. It's so stupid. No, that's next. No, the thing I want to talk about is the way that Spidey defeats Venom with the loud pull sounds that he sticks in a
that's
circle
excellent.
around. It's so
I love
cool,
that.
dude.
That's excellent. Yeah.
That's not dumb.
The symbiote's two weaknesses are loud sounds and fire, according to the comics. And so we stun him with all of these reverberating.
Totally ripped that from Frankenstein.
Well, Venom's original name was Dr. Frankenstein's monster, but they had to change it.
He was called Frankenstein, but they're like, that's stupid. And it already sounds so much like bad spider spit, so we'll just call him Venom.
Yeah.
Nice, very good. Yeah, I love when Spidey realizes, oh, that hurt him, and then stabs all the poles, and then just basically runs around banging them like a big old xylophone. I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's a very creative way of dealing with that. Don't know
I like
why
that a lot.
Eddie Brock gets fangs, though.
It's messy.
You know.
Don't
If you really think about it.
don't really fully understand why he gets the fangs.
If you really think about it.
No, the black suit, the symbiote suit is awesome. Let's talk about the changes it brings to Peter Parker, though. Doge, I know you have thoughts on this.
Doja's been having a take on this for a couple weeks.
Now dig on this.
Dude, now dig on this kills me.
Yeah.
The hip thrusting and snapping kills me.
So I think the intention here, and I'm a Spider-Man 3 apologist so far as to say it could have been a great movie.
Sure.
I think it had cards stacked against it, namely Avi Arاد's insistence that we include Venom and the production team's insistence that Gwen Stacy is a part of this movie. Mm-hmm. Neither of them belong at all.
Nope.
But I actually think that this, now dig on this, jazz club hip thrusting thing could work well in this movie.
No.
Because this is similar to, this is the exact mirror of Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head from last week's movie. Of that moment where Peter is doing what Peter thinks a person would do. Peter is a nerd, wouldn't know a cool person. And this, to me, has always read as this is what Peter thinks a cool, confident person would do.
So I'm with you on walking down the street, pushing his hair over his eyeball, wearing eyeliner, and buying an all black suit.
The actual jazz club where suddenly he's so good at piano. That's dumb.
That's what I'm saying.
So stupid.
The jazz club
He's good at piano from the symbiote, right?
Right.
Does the symbiote give him piano power?
The same
If
way
it
that
does,
the
that's
xylophone hurts
stupid.
it. The same way that the xylophone hurts it. If
it does, that's so stupid. Yeah.
No, I think the jazz club sucks. I think the jazz club is terrible. It's a big dump from me. But I think that Peter's dorkiness trying to be cool works. And it's hilarious.
I think so too.
But I think
here's the deal about Peter at the jazz club, though. He's a real Wiimote to Mary Jane at the jazz club.
Sure.
But he's also a self-obsessed Wiimote in this movie, even before he gets the symbiote.
Oh, yeah. Don't like him very much.
We have destroyed
sucks.
Peter's character in this movie.
Yeah, that's awful. I think characters in general. Gwen is a huge disservice. Gwen is Peter's intellectual equal. In the comics, I mean, if you've seen Amazing Spider-Man, you probably know that this is coming. In the comics, Gwen is Peter's first girlfriend, and she dies. He's unable to save her. Uncle Ben is the reason Peter becomes Spider-Man. Gwen shows Peter what it costs to stay Spider-Man. Gwen is completely gutted. She's Gwen in name only. And she's a model here, which is actually Mary Jane's profession from the comic. It's a total, like, she only exists to be the other girl. Mm-hmm. The third piece of yet another Mary Jane Watson love triangle in these movies.
Bryce Dallas Howard would have been a better Mary Jane than Kirsten Dunst.
Totally agree.
I'll die on that hill.
Completely agree.
I think Kirsten Dunst does a great job.
I think she does a good job.
Jane.
She does a great job here. She was pretty vocal about how much she disliked these movies, being in these movies. During the press junkets for this one, she's quoted as saying, like, well, I never get to do anything in these, but at least on this one, I get to drop a cinder block on Topher Grace. So that's something, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get that frustration a little bit.
She's damseled every single second. Yeah.
Episode? Movie.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
And why even bring Gwen into it? That's the thing too. If you know it's going to be the last one, we're reading about how Raimi like wanted to wrap up the series. Why are we bringing somebody brand new and not doing anything with them?
That's the producers. The producers said you have to include Gwen, and Avi said you have to include Venom.
Good for Raimi to
so Raimi's
do
like,
the best that
we'll
he
make
could.
them date.
Yeah. But yeah, my super dump is everything to do with Venom. Outside of it looking cool and outside of the way that Venom goes down. I think this movie would have been fine. I think it would have been great if it was just ultimately carried by Thomas Hayden Church and
yes,
you know, a better James Franco, but still not a good James Franco. Because I mean, my super pump really on the other end is everything to do with Sandman with Thomas Hayden Church's character.
Hey, mine too. Mine too.
I think the graphics for that are amazing.
Hold on. Specifically, my super pump is the little bit of actual performance we get from Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman. So I'm just going to throw mine in with you guys because I really think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was a fun test of my memory, like the things that stand out. You know, there's some things that you'll do. I would imagine going through something that was as epic as Game of Thrones, there'll be certain things that you remember and you look forward to, and then some things that you don't. And it's either because it's a small part or something that didn't have much to do with the plot, or it was bad. I tend to do this thing in my memory where I just don't remember much of what goes on. And we got so far in before we actually see Venom that I was just like, I had forgotten how long it took. I had forgotten how Venom died. I remembered everything about the Sandman. He was my favorite part of this, and I'd seen the movie once in 2007.
Whoa, this is only your second time.
This is only my second time to see this movie.
Whoa.
And it's still, I mean, he held up.
Yeah.
I thought it was so great. Yep. And with all the thoughtfulness they put into him of like being literally thoughtful about his daughter, it felt like just like he blew away. He was a perfect metaphor at the end of this movie to just have the wind take him away.
He just dissipated.
It's like, well, I guess there was that.
Yeah.
You know, it was like he was,
I told Callie,
it didn't
he just
even
did what
flesh
we all
out.
want to do in this movie, and it's just dissolve and blow into the wind.
And also he doesn't have to have killed Ben.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And he does, everything else was there and he would have been fantastic because then we get to focus on that dynamic and we get to focus on Harry. Then I get to look at Sandman and be like, dude, he's a better person than Peter Parker.
Right.
Yeah.
He's gone through things and it's been bad, but he had regret, right? But he's a better person than Peter Parker. And that's what I'm measuring now.
Yeah.
Is Peter realizes through this dude that, oh yeah, I've been so full of myself, you know? I don't know.
Gone in this movie is the Peter Parker who made me cry in Spider-Man 2. The Peter Parker who sacrifices himself and his secret identity to save a group of people and civilians on this train rather. Gone is that Peter Parker, and replaced with it is this weird, self-absorbed, it's almost like a Peter Parker that never learned the lessons of 1 and 2, but had the powers and experience of 1 and 2. It's so weird.
Yeah, totally. This is the same Peter that goes to wrestle Bonesaw.
Right.
Like, I am the hottest thing on any web in the world. Yeah.
And Harry, we give him amnesia, which is dumb.
That's stupid.
We give him amnesia, but at least we watched the bump on the head happen. The bump on Peter's head must have happened sometime between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because he has amnesia from the first 2 movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Other narrative lines that I have that feel comparable to Peter Parker, just being like, what happened to the old Peter? Just worked because they were written differently. It's like, you know, we have Tony Stark, but he's just always been full of himself.
Right.
So the moment that he announces who he is and leans into that, nothing has changed.
Right.
But when I think of Frodo being taken over by the ring and all of a sudden his best buddy, who's like his brother, he's basically thinks is against him.
Yeah.
It's just written in a way that's not like we forgot who he was before. I don't know.
No. But that's what you're saying. Peter's a jerk before the symbiote attaches to him.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But the Mary Jane stuff, like, nobody's behaving like a regular person. Why isn't Mary Jane just like, hey, dude, stop talking. I just need to let you know I got fired from my play.
Right.
Why did, nothing, it is all so, the conflict is so contrived. And so it's shocking to me that something as good, my super pump specifically, is the Flint Marco, like, discovering his powers, that entire sequence that has no dialogue, where he's forming his like sand body for the first time,
the locket,
trying to grab the locket of his daughter. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
That whole
that
scene
is so
of his
good. How is that in the same
brilliant
movie as Now Dig on This?
Now,
I mean,
and I think the answer is that it's actually just not the same movie.
Yeah.
Is that that's a different movie.
I was exhausted with Mary Jane and Peter's relationship. I was tired of it.
Completely.
And it had such a fun, like, okay, we're going out on a limb. This is going to be a big risk. Go get him, Tiger. I know this is your job. And so, yes, I started to feel kind of the pining for what used to be when he's like, go get him, Tiger.
Yeah.
You know, of like, let me go. But it was presented in a way that I never felt sorry for them.
I feel bad for Topher Grace because Topher Grace is, first of all, in my opinion, a very talented actor who I really like. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he's very charming. And I think you don't like Topher?
No.
I love Topher. I have watched That 70s Show all the way through many times.
Maybe
I think
Carter, maybe you need to show him a little bit more grace.
His name phonetically is how I feel about him. It's like when you're trying not to vomit.
Topher. I like Topher Grace a lot. And I actually think as Eddie, not Venom, but as Eddie, he's a lot of fun. I think that he's kind of a jerk. I think that he's very like charismatic and I like him a lot. I also know that he is a huge nerd in real life and probably was over the moon to be cast in a Spider-Man movie. And the fact that
probably
it is
the last
this
person
one
he thought it would be.
is devastating.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I really do feel bad for him.
It almost feels like Ben Affleck playing Batman. Where you're like, come on, dude. I know you would have loved to do a good one.
Yeah.
I know you would have loved to do a good one. That sucks. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Because it really does feel like if anybody would have probably gotten the call and been like, you're Eddie Brock, and he would have been like, great, I already know everything about it. It would have been
It's
Topher.
Yeah. It's like casting Henry Cavill as Geralt. He's like, oh yeah, great. I'm actually on my 4th playthrough of The Witcher 3 right now. That's perfect.
Right. 100%.
Is that true? Is that true? I know he plays
Yes, he
video
had already
games.
played The Witcher when he was cast.
Oh yeah,
as
totally. Yeah.
Geralt.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I know I've told the story before on the show about him almost missing his Superman audition because he was doing a WoW raid, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. He showed up to the Geralt audition with his own sword.
That's amazing.
I love him so much.
He's the best.
This is welcome to Cavcast. Our podcast about Henry Cavill and how great and fantastic and awesome
Speaking
he
of
is.
some interesting character decisions that we almost made in the Sam Raimi verse, where there was no Venom or Gwen Stacy, there was going to be another villain team up in this movie, and he was in final negotiations of casting John Malkovich as the Vulture. And having Anne Hathaway also in this movie playing the Vulture's daughter, who in Spider-Man 4 would be revealed to be Catwoman. So she kind of, or Black Cat. So she kind of got to do that a little bit and be Catwoman a couple years later with Batman.
I love Anne Hathaway. I'm a
in
big
Les
Anne
Mis
Hathaway
when
fan.
she was a hooker.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm a big Anne Hathaway fan. So, but I mean, that part doesn't really excite me.
Malkovich
as Vulture is
Isn't that great?
inspired.
Isn't that great? Spider-Man 4 was going to be Black Cat.
He looks like a vulture.
Black Cat and Mysterio. Mysterio played by Bruce Campbell.
Oh, reveal that he had been Mysterio the whole time through all of his cameos?
Possibly, yeah.
This is my favorite cameo of his. He's absolutely hysterical.
Oh, it's the Maitre D at the French restaurant? Yeah, it's great.
Bruce Campbell, I don't think we've even brought him up once in this discussion of these 3 movies. He is so good always, but especially here. He is hilarious.
We get Babe Pig in the City as Captain Stacy, which is interesting.
I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you mean Cousin Greg's grandfather from Succession?
Guys,
He was just in something that we watched, right?
Ewan Roy. Was he?
I feel like he was.
he's played the president several times.
Yeah.
That would have been
I
maybe
guess.
it.
Yeah, maybe
But,
that.
like his daughter is hanging from a building.
Yeah, he does not seem concerned.
And he's like more concerned about this guy hitting on his, or like knowing who she is
Yeah.
than her basically almost dying. Like people don't survive that kind of stuff.
No. So
Oh boy.
we talk about Captain Stacy. We talk about Gwen. I need you guys to help me solve a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Why on Sam Raimi's Green Earth are Captain Stacy and Gwen Stacy at Harry Osborn's funeral? Why do they have any idea who this gentleman is beyond head of Oscorp? Are they there because it has been publicized that Norman was the Green Goblin and Harry was Green Goblin Part 2? Or are they there
His
because
security detail?
are
But
they
she's
the-
at his gravesite.
Yeah, they're sitting second row right behind Peter and May. Are they there because they are named characters in this script?
Yes.
I don't
Is
know.
the answer to your question. I'm going to canonize it by saying that, okay, here we go. Harry was kind of a big deal in New York. Captain Stacy,
Yeah.
police captain. And maybe
Maybe they just all sang a pop song like Shrek as soon as it faded to black.
and then I saw her face. Yeah, maybe. Could be. Wow. I think I was so spent
Yeah.
by that point that I was just like,
You know
cool,
what would have been
let's
great?
go.
I know he's the talent. And Captain Stacy goes up and takes off his hat and in the rain starts to sing, "If I had words to make a day for you." And everyone starts singing together. Oh. Yeah, they don't need to be there. It's like
No.
someone was like, "Well, Commissioner Gordon goes to all of them." It's like, well, he knows who killed the guy. He knows who was there, and he's way more involved
Yeah.
and better at his job. Why shouldn't Captain Stacy be there? Jameson's there, just everybody.
When Harry is like, look what you did to my face. Why wasn't Peter like, you threw the bomb at me?
yeah.
You
Those
only
bombs
got
notably-
Chelsea was like-
because I threw
Chelsea's
it
like,
back.
why didn't
2 movies ago,
didn't
those
he
bombs
heal?
turned people into skeletons, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't just blow up.
yeah.
Well, but he had special powers.
Yeah. Speaking of those special powers, is Norman alive and disembodied? Is Norman a ghost? Is he a spirit or is he a hallucination?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's presented in this movie like he's a hallucination brought on by the goblin serum, but Harry hallucinates a Norman in the mirror before he ever serumizes himself at the end of Spider-Man
and
2.
before he knows that his dad was the Green Goblin in the first place, I think.
Yep. In retrospect, thinking about that is something messy I should have talked about last week.
Yeah. That it is a little goofy that with no knowledge that his dad was the Green Goblin, his psycho breakdown, like his what's the word I'm looking for? Like his psychological breakdown somehow reaches through the ether and pulls truth from nothing.
His subconscious told him things that he couldn't have known.
Yeah.
Hey, his butler sucks.
So that's something that guy is like, the blade that killed your father came from his own glider. That guy being the resolution of this plot line
Out of
nowhere sucks.
loved your father.
Harry, I loved your father. It sounds like Badger from Breaking Bad.
Does.
But that guy, so there exists an editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, which, not trying to brag, I do own.
Sure.
And in the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3,
Trust me, it's far from bragging.
in the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, Bernard is not the one who convinces Harry to turn. Harry, after Peter visits him, looks and sees a photo of him and Pete and MJ being friends, and it's Harry's own decision. It doesn't matter to him that Peter might have killed his father. Peter's his friend, which plays very nicely with the Flint Marko, you're more than your choices. That's the story I think Raimi wants to tell.
Okay, eject Venom. Eject Harry's memory loss. We don't need any of that stuff. We don't need the complication with MJ. In fact, I don't even think we need an MJ and Peter breakup that is brought on by anything other than the black suit making Peter a jerk.
Yep.
If she breaks up with him and not even a full breakup, I think it's believable and painful enough for her to go, you need to figure out who you are because this is crazy. Call me when you understand who you are. That's what a mature adult does. And so I think if we eject Venom, if we simplify the
You're saying
relationship
eject
drama,
Venom, but
he's
keep
done.
the black suit?
Sure. Yeah. I think
we can keep the symbiote.
I think the symbiote can be part of
Yeah,
this.
keep the symbiote.
That's fine. Even if the symbiote isn't part of this, maybe the stress of Harry and Peter beefing is what causes him to be a jerk. There are plenty of options for that.
You also missed out on a lot of good CGI fights with just Sandman and Spider-Man. That's
Yeah,
the coolest
totally.
dynamic.
I'm saying if there
They
is,
fought like 3 times if you count the mud one.
if this is a fugitive style thriller from the perspective of Spider-Man chasing after Flint Marko, who is not an innocent man, but is not a terrible man either. And he's not a murderer. If he's a thief instead of a murderer, something that's less violent, and Spider-Man has to make the
I
decision.
didn't kill your uncle.
I don't care.
I was waiting for you guys to stop talking so I could say that funny thing.
I was rude and interrupted so that I could
That's
box you out and
our
take it from
podcast.
you.
I was actually waiting for you guys to stop talking so I could say the funny thing. But yeah, I'm just saying, I think there is a significantly, like a 60% purged version of this movie that is streamlined and really good.
I'm going to rip this Blu-ray. I'm going to cut it down to a tight 90 minutes. I'm going to send it to you guys on Google Drive. It's going to be our new favorite
It's a real
movie.
Topher Grace move.
Oh my God.
Carter, do you really have beef
That
with
is true.
Topher Grace?
I just don't like him.
Like in
I'm being
general?
hard
Like
on
in
you.
general, you don't?
I just feel like I'm too nice on the podcast. So I'm just like,
you need
bringing
an
in my
enemy.
shout announcement energy.
Yeah.
I just don't like, he hasn't moved the needle for me.
Did you ever watch that
Did
70s
he-
show? Okay,
No.
that might be part of it. He's a lot of fun
Did he
there.
take your job out of paper?
I mean, it feels like he feels akin to being like, I love the guy who plays Sheldon. You know, it's like,
There are people who do.
I don't know.
I love Sheldon from our Discord.
Same.
Hey, random shout out to Sheldon. Look,
Hey, hold up. Can our, tell me Sandman's name again?
Flint Marco.
or the actor.
Flint. No, Marco.
Yeah.
Could he also, because we've had speculation on this podcast that Otto Octavius is going to help fight the other villains. Why wouldn't Flint not?
Right.
By the end of this, him and Spidey are
I
friends.
do think
They're
these
bros.
are variants, by the way. I don't think that this is
So this is not the
necessarily-
exact
Yeah.
same one. So he's a variant.
We did do a whole 6 weeks on how there could be so many different versions of the same thing.
So this
That
is like
Loki show.
This is like President Loki versus our
Versus Gator
favorite
Every
Loki.
now and
Gator
then,
Loki.
like these two have, like they have ever since the MCU started, they just dunk and they shoot threes. They shoot half court shots, and I come up and I grab a ball that's too big for my hands, and I try and lace up the shoes that they wear, but I fumble on things. Every now and then I make a shot, but sometimes I'm just like,
Just
I
fart
just
and
want to
fall
be
down.
cool, and I just fart and fall down.
But sometimes the power, the pressure of that fart propels you the extra 3 inches you needed to finish that dunk.
I'm sorry, it can't possibly be because we have different variants of the same.
Actually, Carter, that's a very silly thing to even consider.
It's not, though. It could be. Who knows? In fact, I would argue
Well-
that of the villains we know for sure come in, he's the only one that could be the OG timeline version.
Yeah. Remember how I put money on it was going to be my flex that during WandaVision, the cicada was Mephisto?
Yeah, that's true.
I do remember that. Hey,
It's like, I can do
listen
this.
to me. To quote my favorite
Listen
fairy
to
friend,
me now.
Hey, listen. It's time to rate this movie using the scientific cinema scale, the same science that turned Flint Marco into a bunch of sand particles. That could.
How is it always applicable?
Science is everywhere, man. Magic School Bus and Bill Nye taught me that. The scientific cinema scale is perfect. It's the best possible way to rate movies. And it is as follows. The best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it. Don't lend it.
Buy that poster.
I mean, do we need to go any farther?
The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it. And then stream it. After that is forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie.
God hath forsaken us.
I'm going first because I want to be the first one to do it. I'm forgetting this movie. It's not quite God hath forsaken us. For me, it's not a crime against living that it exists, but it is bad enough that I would prefer to just pretend it didn't ever happen and move on with my life. So yeah, this is a forget it. This is a firm forget it for me. It's a huge bummer, but it's definitely a forget it.
I forget it too because I literally forgot most of it.
I also
And
forgot a lot of it.
The one thing that I remembered the most was Flint Marco, and he's not utilized well, and it makes me mad. He's maybe 8 or 9 minutes.
The thing I remembered
screen time?
the most was the snowboard that flies because I loved it when I was a kid.
Forget it.
Did you have the PS3 game where you could play as New Goblin?
Hey, absolutely. Of course, I had the PS3.
Yeah, that was a good time. Good time. Before we started this recording, before I watched the movie for the podcast this week, I would have thought that I would give this a stream it. Because I thought there was more of it that was
Redeemable.
actually watchable.
Yeah.
But I'm going to forget this movie because this is one of the worst blockbusters that I've ever seen. And you guys know
And it would never-
you guys know how much it hurts my heart to say that
Yeah.
about
Man,
a
I'm
Tobey
sorry.
Maguire Spider-Man.
There was a Blockbuster by my
Sorry,
house growing up that wasn't in great shape. That was probably the worst blockbuster I've ever seen, but this is up there.
Sick,
dude, I've never seen one in good shape.
Oh, we had a really good one when we moved to Texas. Those Texas blockbusters, they hit different, dude. Yeah, dude.
I had to split this up into 2 viewings.
Did you
I had
really?
to stop it. I had to stop it after an hour to be like, I can't.
Like out of sadness, you were like, oh no.
It was out of sadness and just boredom, honestly. So, fun fact,
Dang.
Mary Jane and Peter fails to propose to Mary Jane at the 1 hour point. At that point, we have not seen the symbiote since it silly puttied to his license plate. So we cram all that crap into an hour of this. This movie feels like it's 6 hours long.
It does. Isn't there a
feels
little
very
bit and when the symbiote at the beginning where it feels like it's going to pop out of his drawer and be like, and he's going to be like, hi, buddy. You know, like it's going to be like a kid's
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But it isn't.
It's like monster trucks.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's back in my
Dude, I
mind. Speaking of
forgot.
forget it.
I think we all might have forgotten that movie, actually. Might have
Wow.
rated it that way.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. Hey, I don't know if you guys know this. Sorry. There's a whole bunch of really, really, really bad horror movies out there, like 1.2 stars on IMDb.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
I have not watched very many of them, but I've read a lot of their titles and they're all very funny. That you can just have that for free. That's not really even part of this podcast. It's just great to know that you can go
Cool.
do that.
Okay, great.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Next week, we are going to be talking about the first of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, The Amazing Spider-Man.
I've seen neither of them.
Carter, you've never seen
Wow.
an Andrew
That's so
Garfield
exciting.
Spider-Man.
I'm actually really looking forward to rewatching these. I have not watched
The first one is great. He fights the Green Goblin. He wrestles Bonesaw. It is a shot-for-shot remake of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
I haven't watched 2 since theaters, and I think I've only seen 1, 2, or 3 times. So I'm really excited to
Same.
rewatch these. That's going to be a lot of fun.
In a history of Doge feeling super duper positive about a Spider-Man movie, but maybe it's a take that hasn't aged well, I distinctly remember Jordan walking out of the theater after we saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and saying to you, that's the best comic book movie I've ever seen.
I remember. I don't think I remember loving Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the theaters, but I think I really enjoyed Amazing Spider-Man 1 when I watched it. So I'm excited to give these another spin. So stick with us as we continue our march through the Spider-Mans. The Spider-Mans? I think it's the last
Home
name.
stretch now,
Spider-Man.
guys. Home stretch. We're
No
halfway
way
done.
home stretch. We're in the
Yeah.
no way home stretch.
Spider-Man home stretch. That's the fourth
That's
one.
the fourth one. Wouldn't surprise me at this point. To end today's episode, I'd like for each of us to say our names and what Spider-Man villain could be added to the fray at the end of Spider-Man 3 that actually could have genuinely improved this movie. I have my answer already. For 2 chunks and a hunk,
Go first.
I'm Jordan. Wonders. If it was revealed at the end that 2 of the 3 villains were illusions created by Mysterio,
Yeah.
You just alley-ooped yourself and have left us with nothing because that's by far the best choice.
well,
It's very good.
would you believe that I actually didn't have that answer ready when I asked the question? Because that's a fact, maybe.
I'm Doge. I believe that if we add one simple ingredient of the villainous Hydro Man into the finale of this movie, it cancels out Sandman and you just get mud. That means
Mud.
we have less to focus on.
Carter, you got to say Big Wheel, I guess. Somebody has to do it.
I'm not gonna say Big Will.
Big Will? Big Willie style?
Big Will.
That's Will Smith, baby.
Here's a way to actually wrap it up. Sam Raimi says, all right, you want to introduce new villains? This is my last one, so I'll never do it again. Why not have the only villain that ever actually in the comic books kills Spider-Man? And Spider-Man just dies. What up, Moreland? Just showing up, doing his thing, doing his Moreland thing.
Moreland
Spider-Man's
is
just
the head of the Inheritors. He's kind of an interdimensional energy vampire. Spider-Man has to team up with a bunch of different Spider-Men from across the multiverse to defeat Morlun and the Inheritors. Although Carter Smallbones and Vic Morlun did successfully kill Peter of Earth 616, but so did Otto Octavius in the Superior Spider-Man run from Dan Slott, and also so did Norman Osborn's Green Goblin in the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Some coffee's fast, but not fresh. Some coffee's fresh, but only after a long wait. Speedway Coffee is made fresh at the push of a button, hot or iced, so you can have fresh coffee your way, right away. Get 2 times the points when you buy any size hot or iced coffee drink with Speedy Rewards.
This message is brought to you by Regeneron. If you have diabetes, listen closely because your ears could help your eyes. Excess sugar from diabetes could lead to eye damage and vision loss, even blindness, and you might not even notice it at first. So remember, now is the time to get your eyes checked. Eye care is especially important with diabetes. See a path forward with actions and potential treatment options that may help your eyes and protect against vision loss. Go see an eye care specialist and visit noweyesee.com to take charge of your eyesight. That is NOWEYESEE.com.